Good morning to thee all, my wonderful lords and ladies. Now, I have a lot of things to do today, but I also need to get a video done. So, how about we talk about Renaissance festivals while I get some chores? Sound like a plan? Great. Alright, let's start with this. A Ren Fair. What is a Ren Fair to begin with, or Renaissance festival? Now, a Renaissance festival is a medieval fairground of sorts. So it's set in a medieval-ish era, but oftentimes in deep fantasy as well. So if you go to the Ren Fair, you'll see not only historical pieces, but you'll also see a lot of fantasy pieces. Not only in the clothing options and wardrobe and aesthetic of the place and the buildings, but in the overall structure. It's just fun. They have foods, they have entertainers, musicians, shows, all kinds of different varieties of things. At a Renaissance festival, there's no end of the different things that you can see or do. There's often games such as axe throwing or challenges of strength. Sometimes there's even archery. Now, let me preface by saying I've only ever been to one Renaissance festival. The one that I've gone back to year again. It's called the Texas Renaissance Festival, mostly because it's actually the biggest one in the nation. It's the only one that I've ever been to, so I don't have anything to compare any other festival to. I've never been to the Colorado one, or the California one, or any of the others, or even any of the other ones here in Texas. But I can tell you a lot about the big one. I've been going for probably about 10 years, and it's really fun. I highly recommend if you've ever considered going, or go to any Renaissance festival for that matter. So, now that you know what one is, let's talk a little bit about what to wear. A lot of people ask me if you have to go in costume to the Renaissance Festival, and the answer is no, you don't. Personally, I think it makes the experience a bit more fun. Though, there's plenty of people that are wandering around in their normal day-to-day street clothes as well. However, I can tell you, come here, the hanger's stuck. There. However, I can tell you that if you're interested in dressing up for the Renaissance Festival, I think about what kind of experience you're wanting. It's been my experience that over the years, I do a different costume every single time I go. And with every different costume, it's a different kind of experience. When I dressed up as a pirate, I got called in towards a lot of the different, now, granted I was younger, otherwise I would have been called towards some of the bars and different pubs and things like that. But at the time, we got called in to see different swords and weaponry, and that was really cool. When I went as a fairy, it was a lot of the jewelers and the little trinkets that were for sale. People who were selling fairy dust and magic wands and flower crowns. The vendors that were selling those things were the ones interacting with us and trying to get our attention. When I went as Artemis, it was most of the people doing little sideshows. The people on this, not necessarily the vendors or the craftsmen that were trying to get our attention or interacting with us, but it was a lot of the little sideshows, the musicians, the in-character people. It was really cool. So depending on the costume you're looking for is really going to be the experience you're going to get. Now, I've only gone in without costume once, and that was my very first year attending, so I don't really remember what that was like. Also, I was like 9 or 10, something like that. But it's a lot of fun, so think about your costume. There was one year that I went as a wizard, and my friend went as a witch, and we got called into these shops where they were selling quills and pens and ink and hand-bound leather journals, and it was really cool. But one thing I do advise if you're planning on going, whether in costume or in your daily clothing, is I would suggest you look for natural fibers. Modern clothing, especially the ones made from polyester, or now I've just forgotten the word. Insert here. Okay. They don't breathe. They're basically made out of plastic, which means as you sweat and stand underneath the sun, you're going to be swelteringly hot. But if you go for cottons, linens, or sometimes wools, depending on your location and area, you're going to be a lot more comfortable. Now, another thing to note on clothing, and whatever you decide to wear, whether it's your normal day-to-day clothes or whether it's a costume, I'd highly suggest that you put it all on and... Sorry, I thought my washer was about to drain. I highly suggest that you put it all on and then go for a walk to see if you're going to be comfortable in it. Because if you're not comfortable in your outfit, if it's itchy or tight, slightly too small or too big, or just being an overall nuisance, you're not going to have nearly as much fun. Also, shoes. Footwear is important. If you've got new shoes, go for a walk in them. Even if it looks kind of stupid because they're knee-high boots, go for a walk. You do not want to be walking in shoes that have not been broken in yet. At the Texas Renaissance Festival, and I'm pretty sure it's the same with any fair that you go to, it's huge. You're going to be doing a lot of walking. And depending on how long you stay, you might be on your feet for literally the entirety of the day. So make sure whatever shoes you're wearing are comfortable. Sandals are perfectly acceptable as well. When I did my Artemis costume, I wore giant sandals that laced all the way up to my knee. However, I did make one mistake. I didn't go for a long walk in them. They kept sliding down my ankles and were a little bit itchy. Other than that, it was perfectly fine. I wear and basically live in flip-flops all the time, so I didn't really care, and it didn't really bother me if I happened to get little rocks in my shoes. That wasn't a big deal. But if it's a big deal for you, it's something to consider. Now, one more important thing to consider when you're thinking about clothing or costumes in general is a bag of some kind. Typically, if you're thinking about doing any kind of shopping, you're gonna want something that you can carry whatever you find in. Because I guarantee you, you're not gonna want to be carrying individual sacks around the fair for the entire day. I've done it once. I'm not doing it again. So if you carry a bag, carry one that's big enough to put all the things you're gonna need in it for the day. Your cell phone, a charger, ibuprofen, whatever you think you're gonna need, chapstick, an inhaler, like me, then consider all the things that you're going to put in at the start of the day and all the things you might have in it at the end of the day. However, sometimes there are lockers available at the Texas Renaissance Festival. There is for a price, but I don't know if that applies everywhere. So you might want a bigger bag, or if you have a back issue, think about weight. After all, you don't want to carry something that's going to be digging into your shoulders like a string backpack, or going to be making your back sore like a big heavy backpack. Now, on the subject of back pain, if you're someone that has bad knees, ankles, or a back, then you might want to take that in consideration when you're going about the fairgrounds. Perhaps have a compression sock or knee brace on you in your bag.
Ibuprofen. Take ibuprofen.
And ibuprofen. As two former gymnasts, walking around the fair on bad ankles after sprains and long days of training, it's not necessarily the most fun thing in the world. Of course, at least at the one that I go to quite often, there are benches scattered around and plenty of shows that you can take a rest break and watch from. But sometimes when you reach the end of the day, you just hurt. So perhaps think about carrying an ankle brace, knee brace, or ibuprofen, Tylenol, whatever you need. And if you're worried about it not fitting with your costume, I have a tip for you there too. If it's an ankle thing and you have an ankle brace, size up your boots. You can wear an ankle brace under your boots. I did that for probably 3 years. If it's a knee brace, then perhaps design your costume around that. Take strips of linen or other kinds of fabric and wrap it around your brace, and no one will be the wiser. It'll just look like an aesthetic choice. Okay, just a few more practical things before we get into the actual fun stuff. By the way, do you like my new mug?
No.
Ignore him. What was I gonna say? I forgot. 1 minute. Bathrooms. Now, let's just assume that from here on out, when I say the Renaissance Festival, I'm implying the one that I go to, the only one that I've ever been to. The Texas Renaissance Festival, the big one. Just because things can be different in other places. You just have to do a little bit of research if you want to know about the fair in your particular area. Now, at the Renfest, the bathroom situation is typically pretty good. We have flushing toilets and running water and soap for washing hands with. However, if you're anything like one of my friends, you're going to want to carry around some hand sanitizer or wet wipes. Sometimes bathrooms are a little hard to get to, and if you don't want to fight the masses at the lunch rush to wash your hands before you eat, if that's something you do, then carrying something like a water wipe or disinfectant wipe or hand sanitizer might be a good option for you. Now, one of the most important things at any event, especially the Ren Fair, is water. If you're going to be outside all day, especially in the Texas heat, you need to drink a lot of water. Stay hydrated. Hydrate, don't dehydrate. Now, of course, there are water fountains sprinkled around, and you can always buy a bottled water or coconut or lemonade or whatever. Pretty much whatever kind of drink you want, they have it. But something that is a little bit more practical is to carry your own water. Either in a water skin, a water bottle, a drinking horn, a flask, it doesn't really matter. They will allow you to bring in an empty container for drinking water. Probably one of the last practical things that you need to think about is maybe sun protection. If you're anything like my very pale brother or a redheaded friend of mine, you might burn if it's a sunny day. So perhaps think about long sleeves, a parasol, umbrella, or sunscreen, and have a way to carry the sunscreen. Because you probably won't want to randomly set it down and never see it again. Just a thought. Okay, last practical thing, I promise. Weather. Let me take this out and we'll talk more. I was just gifted more recycling, but we'll talk about the weather first. So here's the thing. Here in Texas especially, the weather can be fickle, to say the least. You could be hot and sunny, like 80, 90 degrees one weekend, and then almost freezing the next. So I highly suggest you check the weather forecast, like the week you're going and then even the day before you're going, just to make sure you don't need to throw on an extra jacket or cloak. Also, when you're planning your outfit, I'd suggest you plan for last minute shifts in the weather. Maybe it's going to be cold. Maybe it's going to be hot. Maybe it'll be hot, then cold. Or cold, hot, then cold again. Or even raining. Be prepared for weather. Maybe that's a poncho, maybe that's a waterproof cloak or umbrella. Whatever you think you might need for the weather, try to plan ahead. If you're ahead of the weather, then you're probably not drowning in your own sweat, freezing cold, or completely soaked like I have been in multiple different years. Okay, finally, on to the fun stuff. What is there to actually do at the Renaissance Festival? Quiet thy one can hear me.
No.
Oh my goodness.
Anyways, what is there to do at the Renaissance Festival? There's lots of things to do, from shows to games to contests. There's a little bit of everything. So let's start with the shows. There's hundreds of different shows, family-friendly and not so family-friendly, alcohol-based and not alcoholic-based. So there's lots of different things.
Owls.
I flooded the washing machine again. Oops. Lots of different things to do, something for everyone. So what I would suggest doing is get an idea of what kind of shows you want to see early on. And then that'll help you figure out what kind of day you want to have. Or you could just totally wing it. Either one's fine. But there's one show you absolutely cannot miss. It's the last one at the very end of the day. It's called Solar Rain. Basically, it's an epic fire show. So if you like cool tricks, fire, and choreographed dance, it's for you. Also, fireworks are at the end. Though, one side note on most of the games, most of those you do have to pay for. Bungee jumping, axe throwing, archery, and a couple other different ones, strength and skill-based things. You do have to pay for those. There's also a couple rides, but I've never been really interested in any of those, so I haven't tried them. Although, my very first year there, I did ride the elephant. Did you know elephant ears are tickly when they get right behind your knees? So that was cool. Also, right after jousts, they also do war horse rides, so you can ride on the horses that the knights literally just rode into glorious battle. It's cool. Also, okay, let me just give you a quick rundown of some of my personal favorite shows. Solar Rain, which happens the very end of the night, you should definitely catch. That is my all-time favorite. Absolutely love fire. It's so cool. But a couple other my favorites are definitely Fire Whip for one. It's got it all in the name. Fire, whip. You might be seeing a theme. I like fire. However, there's also Birds of Prey, which is kind of an educational show. They tell you a lot about different birds and how they hunt and how they were kept. I haven't been to that show in so many years, but it's pretty cool. We've also a joust, of course. There's also a whole storyline underrunning the joust. Now it is choreographed, and it's dictated who's going to win at the beginning, but you pick which side you want to, support, which is cool. But what also happens in the arena is full armor combat. Now this is really cool. It's not choreographed, it's not staged. These are real knights with real battle training in real armor with real weapons. Really, literally, actually hitting each other with weapons in full armor combat. It's really cool. You should check it out. There's also cool. I have just been reminded of another great show. Has nothing to do with armor or combat, probably. It's called Our Scene. It's a good show. I won't spoil it for you because it's different and exciting every single time because of audience participation. It's just fun. Enjoy. But those are just to name a few of the hundreds of different shows that there are to see at the Renaissance Festival. Not to mention the side performers on different stages and gazebos and the paid actors who literally wander the fair and their whole job is to interact with you in character and sometimes send you on quests. Now, another thing to note about the different things that you can do at the Renaissance Festival is there's also some educational stuff if you're interested in learning something new. For instance, if you go down to the forges, the blacksmiths will answer questions about how things are made. They also have a section where they talk about spinning and weaving and will occasionally allow you to try. There's also an incredible glass blower who's there, and they do demonstrations of how the glass is, well, made by blowing into it. It's really cool, and if it happens to be a really cold, wet, rainy day like it was my first year, that and the forge is one of the best places that you can go to stay warm and dry out of the rain for a little bit. Also, another place that you can learn a little bit is at the apothecary, where they sell natural, basically home remedies sort of things, and they're more than willing to teach you how the different herbs and plants were used medicinally, historically, both from Native American tribes and from other places. If you're lucky, you'll even get to meet the wizard, and he'll do a quick demonstration with his cauldron. All right, now another huge draw of the Renaissance Festival is, of course, the food. Now, I won't linger here too long in fear of making you a little more than just a bit hungry. Because let me tell you, the food is amazing. Pricey because it's fair food, but it's not like your usual corn dogs and deep fried weird stuff you're gonna find at a state fair. But it's real, genuine food. You can get something from almost any genre, any country, any time period, really, and it's just so good. One of my personal favorites is bacon on a stick, or the classic giant turkey leg. And when I say giant turkey leg, I mean this thing is that big, and the bacon on a stick is not like the bacon you get out of a store. It's that thick and that tall, and it's on a wooden spike that you get to carry around and eat. It's good. Another one of my favorites, I'm going to put this down before I throw it on the floor, because I don't really want to clean up that big of a mess.
Neither do I.
Another one of my huge favorites is the Greek gyros. Now, the way the food is broken up in the Texas Renaissance Festival is by country of origin. So if you're looking for a gyro, go to the Greek section. If you're looking for bacon on a stick, go to Germany.
Right on.
Whatever you're looking for, it's probably going to be there. You just have to go to the right country. And if you don't know which country section that food is looking for, just stop someone and ask. They might be able to tell you. So again, it's pricey, but the portions are huge as long as you go to the right places. Because of course you will find your small fair foods, but if you look close enough and ask the right questions, then you'll be able to find some of the best Renaissance Festival food that you will only find there unless you make it at home. It's so good. Actually, while we're here, what's one of your favorite foods?
I mean, I've really only ever gone for like the giant turkey leg just because of how massive it is. And then
And he eats a lot.
family size jambalaya for me. And then bacon on the stick is always good. Doesn't always fill me. But as far as fair foods go, it gets way closer than most all stuff.
There you have it. Also, if you have dietary restrictions, there's something for you out there too. I, for one, have a lot of random food allergies, and I still eat very well at the Renaissance Festival. There's also desserts and coffees, and like I said, if you want it, they have it. Now, as for what there is to drink at the fair, I may have mentioned already that you can get coconuts and lemonades. There's this one lemonade stand that I really love. It's right next to the Greek amphitheater. Now, I can't exactly recall off the top of my head what it's called, but it comes in this giant cup that you get to take home with you. I mean, look at this thing compared to my hand. It's massive.
Your hands are tiny.
And this is next to his hand. Still pretty big. But besides just water and lemonade and coconuts, there's also slushies, coffees, hot chocolates, apple ciders. And if you're of the age and interested, there is a plethora of adult beverages, if you get my meaning. I've never been particularly interested in any of the pubs, pub crawls, or bars, so I've never tried any of them. But there are many, many to choose from. Okay, finally. One of my favorite parts of the entire Ren Fair, other than dressing up in wonderful costumes, is the shopping. There are literally hundreds of different shops, and even if you go right at opening, you're never going to be able to see them all. Just, well, here's a map. Look at all the different shops. It's huge, and there's a huge variety of things to look at, explore, and buy, and smell, and taste, and, well, I'll name a few. So, like I said, let me show you some of the things that you can get. There's handmade leather-bound journals, like this one, or this one, or even this one. They come in a variety of sizes and colors and price points for how much work goes into them. There's jewelry. So like the earrings that I'm wearing now, they're sterling silver. I got them at the Renaissance Festival, and I wear them almost all the time. I get a new pair every time I go. There's some of my favorite earrings that I've ever gotten, which is a sterling silver chain and a genuine crystal. There's also cheaper jewelry, like this one. Just a metal stamped piece on a cord. There's hair trinkets, like the ones I keep on my wall. The giant spiral, the butterfly, and the Celtic knot with the little gem shiny things hanging from it. Those I all purchased from the Renaissance Festival. There's candles in a variety of sizes and shapes and scents and smells. You can get them huge. You can get tiny tea light candles, which fit into these beautiful little sconces. Here's a picture of what they look like lit. And they make little coasters to go on top of as well. There's teas for drinking. There's herbal teas from a variety of different places. My favorite place to get them is at the apothecary. There's herbal rubs for sore joints and relaxation, and a natural homeopathic, basically, version of Vicks. There's also soaps, which are handcrafted and smell absolutely amazing and are super friendly and gentle on the skin. There's cloak pins, like this one here. There's all sorts of things, even magic wands. That come in little velvet cases. There's feather pins. This one that I got has an actual antique tip. They reuse them, repurpose them, and then sell them. They make different inks for your feather pin or inkwell pin. There's inkwells and pottery stands. There's so many different things to look at and see and find. There's also weaponry. This sword I got from the Renaissance Festival, and it's actually meant for sparring. My brother and I have had actual duels. There's video proof. Not all of them are made for dueling, but the weapons that I look for are made for that intent. Of course, there's also wall hangers just for show, but they also make the sheaths and leather holsters and frogs for them to go into. My brother even got his throwing knives at the Renaissance Festival. So there's all sorts of things there. There's also handcrafted leather bags. of all sizes and shapes and decoration. There's also drinking horns and blowing horns. You can get one that you can also drink out of, but this one's just for blowing. I haven't practiced in a while. Not only that, there's trinkets and clothing. Some of the little trinkets that you can get are similar to the ones that I have hanging on my wall. There's also just little decorative pieces, cute rocks. I don't know, I have a thing about rocks. And little balls that are like stress balls. You can roll them around and hold them in your hand, and they just feel nice. There's tools, like this metal hair pick that was made at the forge. I actually got to watch him make this one. I use it to separate my hair on a weekly basis. It's practical and helpful and useful. There's also mugs. I don't have any mugs from the Renaissance Festival, but you can get them there. Mugs, goblets, crowns, tiaras. One of my good friends has several tiaras from the Renaissance Festival. Well, I mentioned trinkets. Let me show you a few more. This is a crystal I got from the Renaissance Festival. It's a genuine crystal, and it was expensive, but it's beautiful, and I love it. There was also this handmade bell, hung in colored glass. There's also clothing, like the dress that I'm wearing right now. It was from a Viking shop. It's 100% cotton, or maybe it's a cotton linen brand. The dress is beautiful, but it was $70. But it's one that I can wear both as a costume and every day. There is also more expensive items. And I'm not just talking about the real weaponry. There's also my cloak. This one here. This cloak I bought from the Mystic Cloak Shop several years ago, and it was one of the best buys I have ever made. This thing is beautiful, it's gorgeous, it fits so well, and it keeps me so very nice and warm. It's got secret armholes and a giant hood that comes over. But the best part is that this cloak is 100% waterproof. I don't get wet in this thing. I ride an open air vehicle and I wear this in bad weather and I'm dry. Completely dry. And they come in a variety of colors. But it's expensive. This dress was expensive. My sword was expensive. His throwing knives were expensive. My antique nibbed feather pin was expensive. My genuine crystal hanging on my staff was expensive. There's so many things at so many different price points, so it just comes down to what are you looking for when you go to the festival? Are you looking for a garment that's high quality and not just a costume piece? Are you looking for something that is most definitely a costume piece, but a practical one? I wear this every single time it rains and have worn it every single time it rains since I was in junior high, and I'm still wearing it. It still looks new. Hi, editing me here. I kind of went on a bit of a tangent, but pretty much what I'm talking about is there's a price point for everybody. Yes, there's super duper expensive stuff, and that tends to be what most people talk about when they're saying shopping at the Ren Fair, or it's all just kind of like trinkets and whatever, and it's not worth the money. And there's definitely both those things there. However, you gotta have a price point in mind, whether your price point is $10 or $150 or, $550, something like that. So it really comes down to what you're looking for, what you want, if you want something that can be used in real life or like just at fairs and festivals and other related things. Or are you just looking for like a shiny memento to hang on your wall? That's basically what that sort of thing comes down to. Okay, so I went on a little bit of a tangent, but that's okay. We can fix that later. So, here's the thing. There's a lot of stuff at Renfest, and there's a lot of expensive stuff, not so expensive stuff, great quality made, and not so great quality made. So you just kind of gotta look around, see what you like, and kind of go from there. But something I do find really helpful whenever I'm going is I get distracted a lot. I see something shiny, and I absolutely want whatever shiny thing it is. I'm kind of like a raven in that aspect, I guess. So, something that I like to do is I give myself a budget in cash. And when that cash is gone, I'm done spending. I don't allow myself to use a debit card or credit card at the fair for anything other than food or the ticket price itself. Otherwise, I'm going to spend way, way, way too much money. So, yeah, there's that. So that's that little tip for you. If you're anything like me and may impulse purchase something you really like, even if it's super expensive, then I suggest you bring cash, and then when that cash is gone, so is your budget. So, some advice for you there. Now, I had a couple other things that I wanted to mention that I all of a sudden can't remember anymore. So, why does this always happen? Okay, we'll talk about this first while I wait and see if I can remember what it was I was gonna say. So, I don't have all of the cards anymore, but some of these artisans that I really, really love, I still have some of their business cards. And whatever I don't have, I can look at later, and I'll put it in the description down below if you're interested in any of the shops for like a starting place. Or some of them might be able to place orders online. I'm not sure. But this is the one that I got my hunting horn from. They also do drinking horns, so where you can put drinks into it and cork it and all that. This is the one that I got my rock candles and teeny little mushrooms. I don't actually think I showed you any of my teeny little mushrooms, but they're absolutely adorable, and I can't resist getting more of them every single year I go. So, it's only a slight problem, but it's fine. So, these guys are really, really cool. I absolutely love all their things. I have to get something new from them every single time I go. And then this is where I get basically all of my jewelry whenever I go to the Renaissance Festival. It's always real metal jewelry, sterling silver, high quality gold. They also do genuine, like, crystal rocks, things like that, amethysts, and, come on, brain. Amber! They have a lot of amber stuff, which is so cool. But various different prices. They do long necklaces and earrings and bracelets and pendants, and it's just gorgeous. The only other one, is actually one I didn't get the chance to try, but I picked up their card, and it looked really interesting. I'm trying to make it focus. It's basically a new forge experience. So you can actually go and forge your own like little pocket knife or hair pick like the one I showed you earlier. Something like that, where you get to do it yourself. And I haven't tried it yet, but I'm hoping to this year because that sounded pretty cool. Although it did look like they had a huge line. So they said that you can actually book. Oh, it opens. That's cool. I never knew that. I've only been sitting in my drawer for a year. What does it say? It says, oh, it's the care tips for whatever it is that you make. They also have things available for purchase. But, yeah, so you can book your spot ahead of time. I don't know if that'll work for you, but yeah, they suggest that you book your spot and then go back at the allotted time. But it looked really cool. I didn't get the chance to do it last time. And I'll link more places that I get some of my things from if you want, or it'll be in the comment section, not the comment section, the description. I'm so brain fried all of a sudden. But yeah. I was gonna say something else, and I cannot remember for the life of me what it was. Oh well. So, seeing as I absolutely cannot remember what I was going to be saying or telling you about, I guess we'll go ahead and call it here. So that's what I have for you on the Texas Renaissance Festival, and a couple tips that might make Renfest going anywhere else just a little bit easier or simpler. I hope you enjoyed or found any of this even remotely helpful. If you did, let me know in the comment section down below, and if you somewhat enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, or if you just feel like doing me a favor, give it a thumbs up. Otherwise, if you want to see more Renfest and Halloween and costume sort of things, that's a lot of what I do here on the channel. So if you feel like it, hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you next time. Bye!